The middle class was once the promise of stability, comfort, and upward mobility. Yet millions of people earning solid incomes find themselves stuck in the same financial position year after year. They work hard, make decent money, and follow what seems like sensible advice, but wealth remains just out of reach. The problem isn't a lack of income, it's the invisible habits that quietly drain away every opportunity to build real wealth. These patterns feel normal because everyone around us practices them, but they're precisely what keeps the middle class from breaking through to the next level. The spending trap that grows with your paycheck. When someone gets a raise or a promotion, the natural instinct is to celebrate. A nicer apartment, a better car, maybe upgraded furniture or more frequent dinners at restaurants. This phenomenon has a name in financial circles, but what matters is the reality it creates. As income rises, spending rises right alongside it, sometimes even faster. The extra money disappears before it ever has a chance to build wealth. Consider what happens when someone moves from a $40,000 salary to $60,000. Instead of banking that extra $20,000, they upgrade their lifestyle. The bigger apartment costs more. The newer car comes with higher payments and insurance. The nicer neighborhood means pricier everything. By the time all the upgrades are accounted for, that person might be saving less than before the raise. They feel wealthier because their life looks better, but their bank account tells a different story. This trap becomes even more insidious when financed through debt. Many middle-class families don't just spend their raises, they borrow against future ones. Credit cards make it possible to live a lifestyle that outpaces actual earnings. A $40,000 car becomes just $600 per month. A $3,000 couch turns into $75 monthly for 3 years. These payments seem manageable in isolation, but together they consume cash flow that could build real wealth. The psychology behind this pattern runs deep. Humans are social creatures who measure success by comparing themselves to others. When neighbors upgrade their kitchens, when coworkers lease luxury vehicles, when friends vacation in exotic locations, the pressure to keep pace becomes overwhelming. Nobody wants to appear less successful than their peers, so they spend to maintain an image, converting income into status symbols rather than assets that appreciate in value. The wealthiest individuals understand a fundamental truth that eludes many in the middle class. They live below their means, not at them. A raise becomes an opportunity to invest more, not spend more. They resist the temptation to upgrade every aspect of life and instead direct new income toward building wealth. Their cars might be older, their homes might be modest, but their investment accounts grow steadily larger. They've learned that looking wealthy and being wealthy are often opposite behaviors. The investment mistakes that compound over decades. The single most costly habit keeping people in the middle class is delaying retirement savings. Many workers in their 20s and 30s believe they have plenty of time to worry about retirement later. They prioritize paying off student loans, saving for a wedding, or buying a house. Retirement feels distant and abstract, but time is the most powerful force in wealth building, and wasting it creates a deficit that's nearly impossible to overcome. Someone who starts investing just $150 per month at age 25, assuming average market returns, could accumulate well over $500,000 by retirement. Someone who waits until 35 would need to save nearly 3 times as much monthly to reach the same goal. By 45, the required amount becomes almost impossibly high for most middle-class budgets. The difference isn't knowledge or discipline, it's simply time. Those who delay miss out on decades of compound growth that can never be recovered. Making matters worse, many middle-class workers leave free money on the table. Employer retirement plans often match contributions up to a certain percentage. Not contributing enough to capture the full matches, essentially declining a raise. If an employer matches 3% and someone contributes only 1%, they're voluntarily giving up 2% of their salary every year. Over a career spanning several decades, this missed matching represents hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost wealth. The fear of risk creates another significant barrier. Many middle-class investors, particularly those who started saving later, keep their money in extremely conservative investments. They choose bonds, money markets, or even leave cash sitting idle rather than accepting the volatility of stocks. While this feels safe, it virtually guarantees their money won't grow fast enough to support retirement. Over long periods, stocks have historically provided returns that far exceed inflation, while ultra-safe investments barely keep pace with rising costs. The opposite extreme proves equally destructive. Some investors, hoping to make up for lost time, bet heavily on individual stocks or speculative assets. They hear stories of people who struck it rich and want similar results. This approach can work spectacularly well or fail catastrophically. When someone's entire retirement depends on a single bet, the downside risk is simply too great. A diversified portfolio that balances growth potential with reasonable risk management offers the best path for most people. Perhaps the most overlooked investment mistake is overinvesting in housing at the expense of other assets. Many middle-class families stretch to buy the most expensive home they can qualify for, believing real estate is always a solid investment. While owning a home has benefits, houses require constant maintenance, eventually need major repairs, and can lose value or simply appreciate slowly. Meanwhile, money locked into an oversized house isn't growing in retirement accounts or other investments that might offer better returns. The dangerous illusion of financial security. Nothing exposes the fragility of middle-class finances faster than an unexpected crisis. A job loss, a medical emergency, a major car repair. These events reveal whether someone has built real financial resilience or just the appearance of it. Without an emergency fund, even a small financial shock can trigger a cascade of problems that takes years to resolve. Credit cards provide a false sense of security. Many people treat available credit as their emergency fund, believing they can charge unexpected expenses and pay them off later. This approach backfires quickly. Credit card interest rates typically exceed 18% and often reach nearly 30%. What starts as a manageable expense becomes a growing burden. Someone who charges $3,000 for an emergency might end up paying $4,000 or $5,000 by the time they finish making minimum payments, assuming they don't add more debt in the meantime. The lack of an emergency fund creates a vicious cycle. Without savings, unexpected expenses go on credit cards. Credit card payments consume money that could have gone into savings. The next emergency adds more debt. Over time, the weight of accumulated debt makes saving feel impossible. The middle-class family that appears stable on the surface might be one crisis away from financial disaster. Relying on a single income source compounds this vulnerability. Most middle-class families depend entirely on one or two job paychecks. If one person loses their job, if hours get cut, if a company eliminates positions, their entire financial foundation crumbles. Having multiple income streams, whether through side businesses, freelance work, or passive investments, provides a buffer that can prevent a temporary setback from becoming a permanent crisis. The challenge isn't understanding these concepts intellectually. Most people know they should save for emergencies, invest for retirement, and avoid excessive debt. The difficulty lies in execution. Breaking these habits requires swimming against cultural currents that push toward consumption and status seeking. It means making choices that feel uncomfortable in the moment but create security over time. The path out of the middle-class trap starts with a simple but difficult decision. Choose building wealth over appearing wealthy. This means driving the paid-off car another few years. It means staying in the modest house while investing the difference. It means automating savings before spending has a chance to consume new income. These choices won't impress neighbors or generate social media likes, but they'll create the financial foundation that most middle-class families desperately need. The middle class doesn't lack intelligence or work ethic. They're caught in a system of habits and expectations that quietly prevent wealth accumulation. Breaking free requires recognizing these patterns and having the courage to make different choices. Every dollar that goes toward investments instead of upgrades is a dollar working to build real financial security. Every month that passes with an emergency fund intact is a month of protection against life's inevitable surprises. The habits keeping people trapped are powerful, but they're not permanent. Awareness creates opportunity, and opportunity creates change.